The area of product costing is probably one of the most contentious areas when we talk about lean accounting. Because when we talk in lean accounting, we basically advocate not calculating the cost of individual products. And a lot of people, particularly accountants and marketing people, have a hard time with that concept. And so the first question you have to ask is, who really needs product cost and why? The marketing people will say, well, we need product cost in order to set the selling price. Well, the reality is that most of our businesses today do business in an environment where the market sets the price. We do not have the luxury of cost plus pricing anymore. For most of us, that method of doing business disappeared probably in the 1950s and 1960s. The current exception to that, the only exception that I'm aware of, is people that have government contracts. So the fact is, we don't need cost to set the selling price. And in fact, if you look at what happens when we try to implement that approach, and we take the so-called cost and we add a profit to it, and we give that suggested selling price to our sales and marketing people, we generally get one of two responses. The first response is, well, I can't sell it for that. Well, when they give you that response, you know that they had a number in mind that represented the market price. The second response you might get is, well, gee, thanks, and they go away. Well, what just happened? Well, what just happened is you gave them a number that was lower than the number they had in mind, and you left money on the table. Either way, you lose. Operations people will say, well, I need to know the cost of individual products so that for those products that cost too much, I can cost reduce them. Well, what are you going to cost reduce? Short of redesigning the product, the material content is what it is, and that for most of us is generally 50 to 70% of the cost of the product. Overhead is all allocated, and the only thing you can do with an allocated cost is manipulate the allocation. And so the only thing they have to cost reduce is labor. Okay? The reality is you don't reduce cost out of products short of redesigning them. You take cost out of the business. And so what I tell operating people is, your job is to go stand in the middle of your area of responsibility for an hour, for a day, for a week, for a month, however long it takes to observe the waste, and then remove it. And if you remove $100,000 of waste, I really don't care if that $100,000 is associated with the most profitable products or the least profitable products. It's $100,000 more profit, and that's what I'm interested in. The last group that says they need to know product cost are the accountants, who said they need it in order to value inventory to satisfy generally accepted accounting principles. If a company has 3 to 6 months worth of inventory on hand, they're correct about that. However, if a company is lean and they operate with weeks worth of inventory, there are alternate ways of dealing with that issue. For example, if a company is turning its work in process and finished goods inventory, let's say 15 to 16 times, they've got basically 3 weeks worth of inventory on hand. They know the material content from the bill of materials, and so the only thing they have to value is the labor and overhead, or the processing cost. If they've got 3 weeks worth of inventory in a 4-week month, what they have to capitalize on their balance sheet is 75% of that month's operating cost. They can calculate that and capitalize it via a journal entry. And that is a perfectly acceptable way of satisfying generally accepted accounting principles. At Wiremold, our accounting firm was very comfortable with that. Since the sales and marketing and the operating people and the accounting people generally don't need product cost to do their job, what I advocate is to not have a system of data collection that calculates so-called product cost just in case somebody ever needs to know it. And in those few occasions when you do need to know it, you can calculate it on an ad hoc basis very simply.